Well, if you want to buy a couple houses for the same price as Asheville, North Carolina, come on to old Richmond, right? Um,
Hey guys, this is Erin. If this is your first time to our channel and you want to learn all there is to know about living in Richmond, Virginia, tap that like button, hit subscribe, and click that little bell so you're notified every time we release a new video.
Hey everyone, and welcome back for another awesome City versus City. I am so excited about who we have on today, and I know you're going to love it as well. We have Elena Kovrigin from Asheville, North Carolina.
Hi,
Hey Elena, thank you
Erin.
so much for being with us.
Yes, of course. I'm excited. I'm excited to talk and compare and see how how similar or how different our towns are.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I don't know if it's the same way for you, but definitely in Richmond. Um, I have a lot of people that are coming to the area and a lot of people that live in Richmond that all they ever talk about is going to Asheville, North Carolina. So
Oh, really?
it's okay if you don't return the compliment. I get it. I get it. So let's really get into it and see how our cities are different. So Elena, kind of an approximate at a ballpark. If you live in Asheville, North Carolina, and you want to go to an amusement park, where do you think you'd go, and how long would it take you to get there?
So it's not going to be in Asheville, that's for sure. It's not even going to be in Western North Carolina. So either needs to be, closest city would be Charlotte, North Carolina, or places like Gatlinburg in Tennessee. I mean, and that whole place is, the whole town is a huge tourist attraction, has a lot of stuff going on there. So about an hour and a half, 2 hours away from here
Okay.
is where you would really, get to experience a real amusement park, full blown amusement park.
Gotcha. Are you a roller coaster girl, Elena?
No, I'm not. But I
No?
guess I'm gonna have to be because our kids are growing up and they keep asking to go to all these places. So,
Well, it's a lot of fun. I scream the entire time and I always get on, you're going up the hill and I'm like, why do I do this? Why do I do this to myself?
right.
But then I'm excited and I want to do it again. Again, again. So good, good. So for us, here in Richmond, we do have King's Dominion about only about 30 minutes away from us, right up the interstate. So we're pretty lucky that way.
Oh, you lucky.
Um, and then Busch Gardens, Colonial Williamsburg is about an hour and 20 minutes from us. So a little,
Okay.
about the same as yours, about the same as
Mm-hmm.
yours for sure.
So, do you
So,
have anything in town, or do you have to go somewhere?
I mean, the one Kings Dominion, I guess it is technically kind of the Richmond area. It's almost like between Fredericksburg and Richmond. That
Gotcha.
makes sense. So not really right in our town, but pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
If you live in Asheville and you want to go to like the park that everyone wants to go to, where are you going to go and how long is it going to take you to get there from pretty much anywhere in town?
Well, so we are lucky because Blue Ridge Parkway, which is one giant park,
Mhm.
it goes through town, and we have several entry points, several entrances to the parkway within the city. So you really don't even have to go anywhere. I mean, we live in South Asheville, and the closest Blue Ridge Parkway entrance is literally 5 minutes away from us.
Oh
So
my
we just
goodness.
go in the car, and from there, once you are on the parkway, you can just park on either side of the road, and you see cars parked on the sides of the road on the parkway, and it's because they park there and they just go on the trail, and there's a
Right.
ton of trails along Blue Ridge Parkway. So it's Asheville is like one giant park. Sometimes
Beautiful.
it feels like we live in the woods, but hiking and all the outdoors biking is everywhere. So yeah, it's one giant park. What about you?
Well, we definitely, Asheville definitely has us beat on that because to get to the mountains from here, it's going to take you about an hour
Mm-hmm.
when you go towards Charlottesville.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, For us, it's going to be just a bunch of little parks that are scattered around the several different places. I feel like the city of Richmond is a continuation of parks for sure. You have like Pony Pasture, Belle Isle, Browns Island, all of those different things. That's kind of more, and Maymont. Maymont is probably
Okay.
our like quintessential Richmond park that everyone, if you come into there, usually they're like that. They know that.
So is it kind of like a park that has a playground and some kind of like pavilion, or what exactly is it like?
Right. So Maymont, we're pretty lucky there that they have this beautiful manor home with these amazing gardens. That it's like if you live in Richmond or if you live anywhere near Richmond in Virginia, you're going to be at least 5 different field trips with your kids over their school lifetime at Maymont for sure.
Yeah.
The manor house, the beautiful gardens, which they've started opening up at the holidays, and they put a bunch of lights all through it. And then they have a little farm on it with a bunch of like the petting zoo. I'm trying to think. I guess they do have a playground in there and a couple different like little stables. They kind of have everything, everything on there, but no
And
mountains.
is it a free entrance?
Yes, it actually is a free entrance.
Okay.
Not to go in the manor home. And then if you do like the light show and all, you do pay a little something. But just walking around the park is free. Just nice.
Okay. Yeah. Well, that reminded me about, we do have a couple of places like, where you have to pay, but it's one of them is Arboretum, North Carolina Arboretum, and that's is a ticketed entrance, but it's pretty cheap. And it's one giant park that, has gardens and grounds that are taken care of. It's not like Blue Ridge Park where it's just wild.
Right.
And another one, and I'm sure a lot of people know about this, is Biltmore Estate.
Of course.
And it's known not just for the house, used to be the biggest residence in the United States, but its grounds. We have annual membership to Biltmore, and we don't go to the house because, we've been there. But we just go because it's so nice to visit the gardens and to go on a hike, and everything looks pretty and taken care of. It's a pleasure. So we have annual membership for that. So that's definitely an option too, but for pay.
I would say that's what everyone thinks about Nashville. Everyone is like so drawn to that for sure. For sure.
Right.
Okay. If you want to catch a concert for like your favorite performer, first off, who are you going to go see, Elena? And where would probably be the place you'd be going to? And about how long would it take you from where you live to get there?
So we actually, believe it or not, considering Asheville is such a small city, only 90,000 people, we have several music venues in town. Orange Peel is one of them. It's right in downtown Asheville. And, for the most part, they say that up and coming artists come there to play, but I remember back in, I think it was 2011 or 10, Adele came to and performed at Orange Peel right before she really blew up. Back then, I didn't even know who Adele was, and I was like, who?
Right.
And then Norah Jones was performing there. So it's people like that. So we have music venues in town, and Asheville is known for its music scene as well as food scene and nature and all that. But other bigger, like other performers, like comedians, go to Harris, what is it called? It used to be US Cellular or something else. But anyways, it's also in town. It's a bigger venue. Comedians and other artists like even Asheville Symphony is performing at that place.
Oh, lovely.
Other much bigger venues would be in either Charlotte, North Carolina, which is about a couple hours away, Atlanta, 3 hours, or Greenville. We've been to Greenville a couple of times. One of them was Chris Botti. He's instrumental. Honestly, I don't even remember what he played. But anyways, I went to see Madonna. That was probably 10 years ago.
Oh my goodness.
That was in Atlanta, I think. So yeah, people like Madonna are not going to come to Asheville, but you would have to drive to Atlanta or Charlotte, most likely.
Okay.
What about you? Do you have venues in town, or do you have to travel somewhere?
We're pretty fortunate in Richmond that we do have several different venues to choose from. I would say that ones that most people will know about Richmond for sure would be like Innsbruck After Hours. It's like one of the outdoor pavilions. It's set in an office park on the west end of the Richmond area, and if you don't know about it, you like won't know it's there.
Right.
But they have like a summer concert series, and a lot of the big performers come through for sure. I'm trying to think of anything else. The Altria in downtown Richmond is pretty well known, and a lot of the big Broadway shows come through there for sure. Um, Sometimes, though, if you want to get like the big people coming through, you're probably going to go to Charlottesville, which is
Okay.
about an hour 20 minutes away, or you'll go down to, say, Norfolk, to the Norva, or they have like a Virginia Beach amphitheater. So we have a lot of smaller venues, and we do have a little, little baby Broadway. And we do get the big performers in for sure, but I would say same. We'd probably go to one of the big cities
Yeah.
fairly close by, or DC, right?
Right.
Okay. Now, I know you've got the amazing mountains right by you, literally, walk out your doorstep sort of thing and stumble into the mountains. Let's talk about if you want to go to the beach. If you want to go to the beach and you live in Asheville, where are you going to go and how long is it going to take you to get there?
So the most, I guess, visited beaches from Asheville would be either Myrtle Beach in South Carolina, and that's a very easy drive, just straight line pretty much to the
That's
coast,
nice.
but it's in South Carolina. Or Folly Beach, which is right next to Charleston. I think that one is even faster to get to. We used to go to Myrtle Beach, but we just kind of outgrew it, especially the regular Myrtle Beach, not North. It's a little too wild. It's just
Right.
a lot of people partying, and I mean, definitely a lot of entertainment. It's kind of like Gatlinburg, but at the beach.
Yes, exactly.
But Folly Beach is a smaller community. It's about 20 or 30 minutes from Charleston. There's not a whole lot going on right at Folly Beach, but it's super nice. So those would be the two options. And of course, Outer Banks of North Carolina are available a little farther. I would say 5 to 9 hours, depending on where on the Outer Banks you go into. But those offer even more laid back atmosphere. I mean, it's super nice if that's something that you go for, just depends.
Absolutely.
What about you
Absolutely.
guys? You probably same distance to the beach, right?
We're definitely closer. We are definitely closer where we're at because we're smack right.
us
We're
there.
really Richmond sits right in the middle. Like if you want to go to the mountains, you can be there in about an hour, 30 minutes. And then if you wanted the beach, you could be at Virginia Beach like an hour and 30 minutes. So we're pretty lucky that way.
You lucky. Yeah.
Virginia Beach is it's kind of the same. It's a fun place. And most people come from a lot of areas and they're like, oh, Virginia Beach, you're so lucky how close you get. And I'd probably say most people from out of the area go there more than us. There's some local beaches that people go to. For us, and I know for like my family, beach, Outer Banks for sure. And we're right at about 3 hours from Outer Banks. And pretty
wow.
easy. Pretty easy. Like as for you though, if we wanted to go to Folly, or if we wanted to go to Charleston or something like that, that's 6 hours from Richmond.
Gotcha.
So.
Gotcha. Do you guys have lakes?
For sure.
Yeah, that's also an option for water adventures. Yeah.
And your lakes, do they have it where it's like ones that anyone can go to and you have to pay to get into, or are they like you have big lakes that you have to like live on the lake in order to use it?
Well, either, and there's free beaches available as well.
That's nice.
But a lot of, like you can either rent a house on the lake or go to the like public beach, or we like going camping And of course you have to pay for camping, but you know, they
Right.
provide those bathrooms and all that, showers even, and it's right on the lake. So yeah, there's a lot of places where you don't have to, if you know, locals know all the little places where you don't have to go and pay for the public, you know, public part of the beach where they have some amenities, but you
Right.
know, so there's options.
What would be your most popular beach right there in Asheville or close to Asheville that like most people are like, oh yeah, that's the lake you go to?
So we don't really have lakes right in, well, there are a couple, but one is in the, you know, in the HOA community and is only for residents. Another one is in, actually, it's in Arboretum, and it's
Okay.
free to get to the lake. Oh, right, it's right next to Arboretum. It's right outside, so it's free. It's not as, it's like, it's just, you know, I wouldn't go there. But
Right.
places like Lake James, which is
Okay.
east of Asheville, about, you know, 40-50 minutes from Asheville, out in Old Fort. That's a nice, super nice lake. And another one is Lake Lure. That's would be southeast of Asheville. And Lake Lure is a huge destination for a lot of people. It's where it is known for, they shot, Dirty Dancing there at Lake Lure. So that's what it's known for. But those would be the two lakes, and some other lakes a little farther, a couple hours away. Nantahala Lake, Fontana, Lake Fontana. Super nice lake, super clean, but they are cooler because they are in the mountains.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
What about you
So
guys? Do you have something in town, or do you have to drive somewhere to get to the
we
lake?
have like probably right outside of Richmond going towards Charlottesville. Big one would be like Lake Anna. That's a big one for us. So maybe like, 45 minutes or so from most of everything in Richmond, unless you live further out west, it'll be closer. That's probably the
Right.
big lake. And then I guess for us too, besides that, and you might have that as well, probably what's bigger around here is the river. And we have two rivers, not to be confused. So it's the river, James River, that runs all the way through, and of course runs down further east as well, and then way up. That's a popular one for sure. And people are always doing water sports. You see everyone doing things, and a lot of the parks are centered around that for sure. It's called the River City, right? But then there's the river, the RIVAH, and that's going further out east, and that's more like the Mattaponi. And people have
Gotcha.
like all their like houses on the river. They're like, oh, we're going to the river this weekend. You're like, it's a Richmond thing.
Yeah.
But that's mostly, I would say that's mostly it. So not too far off, not too unsimilar to yours, sort of thing. Okay, so in Asheville, essentially in your MLS coverage area, what would you say is your favorite? We're back, woohoo! It's magic. What would you say is your favorite place in Asheville to go?
Well, like I said, Biltmore Estate, where we have our annual membership, we are pass holders. This is our favorite place. And I know it's a huge tourist attraction for a lot of people coming to the area. They have an inn, Biltmore Inn, and they have a hotel, and there's another place to stay, and it's just this, and that. But we really go to take the dog, just go for a walk with the kids. It is so beautiful. I mean, that place is, first of all, it's huge. And second, everything is so well taken care of. It's such a pleasure to be there any time of the year, especially, even in winter. And when all the tourists kind of leave, or in the evenings, sometimes we are the only ones there, roaming on the, in the gardens or through their property. It just feels like it's so nice. It feels like it's your backyard. I mean, you can't beat that. And it definitely feels safe with the kids. They just run around. There's not a lot of cars going through. So that one, or we're big or big-ish on outdoors. So Arboretum would be another one, and Bent Creek, where we take kids just either for hiking or biking. They have a lot of trails there to bike. So yeah, those two places. And then we love to visit little festivals that are happening around Asheville and all the smaller towns and all more rural towns. Like Hendersonville has their Apple Festival, Labor Day, and that's a 2-day festival. They shut down the main street on both sides, and there's a bunch of vendors selling apples and other things, and the things for kids. Waynesville has the same thing, but like a month or two later. So we love visiting smaller towns when they have little festivals. So yeah, so that would be what we would do in Asheville. How about you guys?
For Richmond, favorite place to go. I too am an outdoors girl. Really, literally, any opportunity to be outside, I'm gonna take it. Favorite spot. This might seem kind of morbid, and I never knew why people talked about this place all the time until I finally went a couple years ago. It's the Hollywood Cemetery. It actually is I know, so weird. You're like, you don't look like someone who would like to hang out in a cemetery. Tell me more. The thing is that they actually, it's been mentioned in a lot of different books. Like, people tend to write about it. I know they've shot a lot of different scenes for different movies. I can't think of which ones they were, but it is absolutely beautiful. And it's kind of like the place, like you said, like Biltmore, just going and walking your dog around. It doesn't seem like you're in a creepy or a sad cemetery. The history and the beautiful architecture and the landscaping, and it's very hilled. So you can just walk around with your dog, ride your bike, whatever. And then it has these beautiful vistas that look over the entire city and across the James, which are just breathtaking. Particularly at this time of year, it's so gorgeous with all the dogwoods all blooming,
Right.
all the leaves, that limey green, and just the river and the train like going by. I don't know. There's just something about that. That's probably like actually one of my favorite spots in Richmond. Besides that, probably all the different like little tucked away parks that are like right around along the river, or that the same thing. You're just kind of lost in the woods with all the birds and the creatures.
Right.
I mean, that is the best. And you can do that free. You can do that whenever you need to, sort thing. And then on the flip side, though, I love nature and I prefer actually probably being out. Not so many people in the hustle and bustle. I do love the city, and going down town to all the different little spots, and they have all the like crazy murals that the art people have done, all the different artists have done all over the place. I actually really do enjoy that.
Yeah. So
that's
you have
kinda
is your downtown pretty walkable?
It is. We're kind of split up into several different little spots. But it actually is pretty walkable. I would say that like Carytown is the most walkable. Then you've got like Shaka Bottom, Shaka Slip. Those are probably the ones I'd say that are the most walkable and connected. And there's plenty of, and Scott's Addition. If people like breweries, you want to come to Scott's Addition in Richmond for sure. You've got the Vale, you've got Hardywood. I know that there are 5 million other ones that people are going to probably be like, I can't believe you didn't name those. Those are so famous, And then a couple wineries kind of scattered on the outskirts of things. So it's kind of trying to put itself on the map.
Yeah.
All right. How about, I know you said about all the different festivals and all, and you said about doing camping. What would you say is like one of your favorite places to eat in Nashville? Do you have like a favorite place?
There are several. They're all in downtown Asheville. Downtown Asheville has, between downtown and West Asheville, we have the best restaurants, and they're all local. My favorite would be, and it's probably, a lot of people probably know about this who are visiting or who are, thinking about coming. Curate is a Spanish tapas style restaurant. It is, I believe she got James Beard Award recently for, the chef and the owner got for it. So that's our favorite. It is now mission impossible to get into it.
Oh.
It is booked for weeks. So unless you want to walk in for like lunch and sit at the bar, maybe during the week, but on the weekend, forget about it. You need to book that table weeks in advance.
Okay.
But other places like Pasana, also local restaurant, which by the way is a fully gluten-free restaurant in Asheville.
Oh.
And I just became gluten-free by choice.
Yeah.
But before I didn't really care about gluten-free, and everything tastes amazing there. Like you wouldn't even tell, because some people have misconception like, oh, if it's gluten-free, it probably doesn't taste good.
Right.
You wouldn't even tell. So Pasana, then Chestnut, that's also in downtown. Mountain Madre, it's a little less, it's more laid back, Mexican type of restaurant. Everything is so super fresh. All the produce, their margaritas are amazing. And then Vivian, that would be in River Art District restaurant. Vivian, Strada, Italian restaurant. There's so many. If you go to downtown, you're probably not gonna hit a bad restaurant there.
Okay.
Honestly, it's every restaurant. All bad restaurants kind of could not survive and they had to leave.
Right.
Yeah. Do you
Gotcha,
have some
gotcha.
favorite restaurants, or what is your favorite, I guess, cuisine and the restaurant that
hard.
would match that?
That is hard. 'Cause I kind of like all sorts of different things. If I wanted to go super, super casual, but just kind of fun and lively, there's a place on the river. It's called the Lily Pad. And what it looks like on the river, it actually looks like at the more industrial side of our city. So it's like looking at smokestacks, which it's like, ooh, that's not so great. But a really fun vibe. They obviously have like a look for everyone that they hire. I swear they just literally go sit in the corner right by the VCU campus and just go, you, because everyone has just like this really cool, crazy, quirky look, but they pull it off and they look awesome. The wait staff and everyone lives there that works there that does that. And then they always like live bands, on Fridays or the weekends and all. And it's just fun, like good old food. Anything, right? Like pizza, nachos, amazing drinks like I think it's called the Orange Crush. Oh my God. I definitely have to make sure I have a DD with me when I go do that. For a little bit more, for more fancy, there's a place called Shagbark that sounds like the place you're describing, that is all gluten-free. I don't think it's probably all gluten-free, but it is amazingly fresh. Really cool. You just want to stay there for a long time. It's just one of those, you walk in, you're like, my God, I can't even put my finger on why I like this. I just love it so much. And the food was absolutely to die for. That, and then there's a ton of them downtown, like Max is on Broad is just like the fun place to go for a really fancy kind of Parisian brunch before you go catch a show at the Altria. Those are probably some of my favorites, but same thing like you, there's just food and options everywhere, which is good and not so good. I guess you need to wear black all the time and then nobody notices. Right?
Right. It's trouble. Yes, definitely.
It is trouble. It is definitely trouble for sure. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about real estate in the area. What would you say, kind of off the cuff, average price range, prices for the Asheville area for single family homes?
It is right this second, it's probably right around 500,000.
Okay.
Which is kind of crazy. It used to be when I first started in real estate, which was 6.5 years ago.
Okay.
And in my brokerage back then, houses that were 500 plus considered to be luxury homes.
Okay.
and now it's not luxury at all. I mean, it's definitely $500,000 will not get you a luxury house. It's gonna get you a, I don't want to say basic, but good quality house. 3-2 on a quarter of an acre, maybe. So yeah, it's prices have gone crazy, as you know, as everywhere else. What about you guys?
Kind of similar to what you've explained there. We've seen a big uptick in our average sales price. We're pretty close. I think for 2022, it averaged out for single families about $450. Whereas 2021, we were right, we were about in the 380s. So just in those 2 years, we're seeing a big jump. I still feel like you can get a pretty good house for $500,000, but to some, it may seem very basic, a nice home. I'm sure, like you, same thing. It's that location. There are going to be areas where you're paying the premium to be somewhere, that it's like for $500,000, you might be getting a little teeny house in one spot, but you might be getting a much bigger house somewhere else, right?
Oh yes. Oh, absolutely. Yes. And some neighborhoods in Asheville, you can't even find anything for $500,000 these days. They're just they start at $700 or $800 plus. But yeah.
What do you think when it's the more luxury homes? What is it about that area that draws people to it?
Well, a lot of times it's the proximity to downtown.
Okay.
Or it being a very established historic type of community. For example, anything north of, pretty much all North Asheville, and it has several neighborhoods there, is more on the, not more, it's a historic neighborhood, pretty much one giant historic neighborhood. Not all houses are in the historic registry, but a lot of them are older houses, and it's very established, walkable. You can walk to downtown, of course, depending on how far you live from it, but you can walk to downtown if you wanted to. It's a lot more laid back, meaning it's not as like West Asheville is funky and hippie and can be a little too artsy for some people. So I always say, well, West Asheville is where you would live and North Asheville is where your parents would live. Who also have more money. Or, Town Mountain community, for example. It's a mountain community, but it overlooks downtown Asheville. It's absolutely beautiful there, but it's so expensive because it's like 5-10 minutes, depending on how fast it's going to take you to come down the mountain to get to downtown. You're literally looking at downtown Asheville from it. What about your side of things?
They're actually very similar, and I really understand now. In fact, I'm going to have to reach out to one of my YouTube clients that I know. She was looking at Richmond last year. She was looking at Asheville, and she was looking at I think Greensboro. I think like where the
Greensboro, North Carolina, or
I think it was Greensboro actually. So I'm understanding a lot of it now. Why the two pools for things. For us, it's kind of the same way. We definitely have some very cool eclectic spots in town for sure, where are more funky, more artsy, and that's kind of where the cool hipsters are going to be. They're not cheap. The more funky, cool places, it isn't cheap for sure.
Yeah.
You pay the premium being there, I'd probably like, Churchill, Shaka Bottom. I'm trying to think of some that also would be like the big pool. Definitely places like in Forest Hill, which is actually south of the Jams. Whereas a lot of people, the parents or people with the families that want to get out of the city, be in the burbs a little bit more, they're going to be out on the west end of Henrico, or they're going to be south of the James over in like Chesterfield County, Midlothian area. That's kind of, if you want to go more rural, you've got those options as well, but kind of the same, very, very similar, very, very similar sort of thing. How would you say traffic and commuting is? Like if you live in the burbs, where would most people be commuting to for work, and how long is it going to take them to get there?
So traffic, it's all about comparison, right, and perspective. If you listen to locals or native locals, I mean, people complain day and night about how bad the traffic is. And yes, it gotten worse over the years because we had such huge influx of people and infrastructure was not in place. They're now working on the roads. They're now working on interstate I-26 is being widened and all that. So, but people come in. I have a ton of clients who moved here from big cities, like real cities, Portland, Chicago, and they laugh. I mean, to them, it's like, what traffic? What are you talking about? So it's all about people's perspective. Now, with medical field being one of the biggest employers in the area, a lot of people commute to Mission Hospital. That's one of the biggest hospitals in the whole region. So a lot of people would commute to it, and it's located right, outside of downtown Asheville on the south side. So it's kind of centrally located, but so a lot of people would commute to that. I will say, compared to, if you look at the whole place, south of Asheville is more congested, more populated. It's more developed too. Like you have everything you would need in South Asheville. I mean, you don't even need to go on the other side of the town to get anything. So it's more congested. It's got a great school district. So a lot of people choose to live there, which is why traffic on the south side tends to be more congested, and it's slower, especially around 8 and 5 p.m. So yeah, south side, I always tell people, just beware. It can be worse. But again, compared to other big cities, it's really nothing.
Right, ridiculous. Like, oh, give me a break.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
What about you guys? Where do most people commute to, or what's the biggest?
For Richmond, we kind of have, I'd say, 2 or 3 different spots that are like the big spots people commute to. Definitely downtown Richmond, the VCU, and their medical college, MCV. That is a big employer for the area, so that'd be right downtown. Same thing as the Federal Reserve actually has their financial district, a small baby one. Definitely not like, we're like the wannabe Charlotte, right? So we are like nothing in comparison, sort of thing. But we do have that little thing. So I'd say a lot of people are going into there. Pretty easy commute, no matter where you are in Richmond, even if you don't live downtown. I feel like the locals do complain a little bit more about it now, but again, we have a lot of people actually that are more like Atlanta, definitely the DC, Northern Virginia area, Maryland area. A lot of people, if they have the ability to move down here, they're like, are you kidding me? That's a joke. I think it's also because Richmond actually was set up pretty well infrastructure-wise. We have several different interstates that run through, and they actually set it up before the population got crazy. We've got 2 like outer circles that run, and then a lot of like big highways. So there isn't one way to get into places, and I think that helps a lot. So it's like if the one particular interstate is backed up, you've got another one you can hop in, or one of the toll roads, or one of the secondary roads, and I think that helps a lot. Besides that, on the west, Capital One is a big employer here for sure. And then further south, which was not the way for a while, we actually have a big Amazon plant, and they actually are bringing Lego in. So there's like, they're building up this one area where there used to not be a lot of stuff. But most people, I would say, that are commuting into any of those areas, you can have a very easy commute, maybe 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's not bad at all.
And I think infrastructure in place plays a huge role in that.
It really does.
Because Asheville definitely does not have good infrastructure in place. And the fact that it's in the mountains, that controls a lot of how things can be done. and what can be built and what not. So that's a huge factor that,
Of course.
you know.
Definitely, definitely. Okay. So let's talk about property taxes. You mentioned about South Asheville. What would you say is like average taxes for maybe a house that's in where you said maybe about the 500,000 range? What would the average taxes be there?
So unless you live in the city limits,
Okay.
city limits is where you're gonna pay the highest rate.
Sure.
It's gonna be it's a little over $1 per each $100 value, so like 1%. Outside of city limits, it's a lot less. You're only paying county taxes. Sometimes there's a school tax or a fire department tax, so it can be anywhere from, I think it's 50 cents to 70 cents per each $100 value. So definitely outside of city will be less expensive than in city. Plus, city limits are not that big anyways. It's kind of hard to find something in city limits anyways. But yeah, outside of city in the county is about 56 cents per each $100 value. What about you guys? Do you have?
That is
again, yeah, it's all about perspective and comparison where people are coming from. But a lot of people coming from, especially up north, they come here not because it's cheaper to live, and the housing is cheaper, but it's because the taxes are a lot lower than where they used to be.
For sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it kind of the same. In the city, it's going to be more expensive for sure. But our county taxes are a lot higher than yours. Like Chesterfield County is 92 cents for every $100 assessed. And that's out of the city. And then Henrico, those are probably the two biggest counties we have around here. Henrico County, I believe it's at 87 cents. So it's kind of pricey. And they keep on, those assessments keep on going up for sure. My God, it has gone up so much, so much. Okay. All right. So we're going to do a little contest. I want you in your MLS area. It can be in your favorite neighborhood. It doesn't matter. But like in the MLS area that you cover in Asheville, I want you to pick your favorite property that's kind of between about 500 and let's say 525 and tell us about it. And the miracle of YouTube, when we broadcast this, they're going to be gorgeous pictures of this house. So everybody can see how pretty it is you're talking about.
So actually, I mean, there's a few houses that I like, but my heart always goes for new construction. I don't know what it is, but I love new construction. To me, nothing can beat new construction. And to me, it's also because of the, practicality. You are good for another 10 years at least on everything that you got at this point. So I'm actually putting another client on the contract in the same new home community today, and it's called Baker's Creek. The address is 50 Mayday Street in Asheville, North Carolina. And it's built by a local construction company, and they're known for great quality. I mean, they build anything from super custom luxury homes in the area to spec homes like this one. So this one is actually a spec home.
Okay.
But the quality is great. The materials are great. It's good quality and great location. It's in West Asheville, not in the West Asheville.
Okay.
And people who are coming here know the difference. The West Asheville is where it's along Haywood Road, where all the restaurants are on both sides and where you can walk to all the restaurants in the West Asheville. This one is on the other side of the Patton Avenue. And it's still probably, I don't know, 3 minutes away from the West Asheville by car. but it's going to be cheaper. To get the same house in the West Asheville is going to be a lot more expensive. So
Got
this
it.
one is cheaper. It feels very quaint. I mean, it feels like you are in the middle of the countryside, you know?
Aw.
So that would be, I would say, my favorite. It's listed now for 545, but it's going under contract. But there are other houses in this neighborhood that are being built as specs, or they have home lot packages. So yeah, I love new construction, especially good quality new construction.
Oh yeah. And you can tell the difference. You can
Oh
tell
yes.
the difference for sure.
Yes, yes. And I mean, it depends on the people's budget, you know, to each their own. But this one is overall is something that I would recommend to my clients, something that I would buy for myself. And I'm always, you know, if I'm gonna buy it for myself, I will recommend it to somebody.
Right.
If something that I'm never gonna buy for myself, I would try to talk people out of it. Like,
Sure.
you know, some big national builders that are in the area, I would never recommend anybody buy their house. But you know, again, it's depends on people's budget.
Sure. Sure. And what's important to them. Sort of.
Right.
Okay.
Do you have something that you like? That's your favorite
I
listing?
do. I do. And the funniest thing is, I probably am. I love new construction too. Don't get me wrong. And my husband teases me all the time. I'm like, I like older homes. He's like, Erin, you like older homes that have been renovated, not just older. And I'm like, perhaps. But I'm going to kind of go with, there is much like you were talking about, like, you know, not the West Asheville. The West End of Henrico, or known as the West End, is kind of one of the spots that is very, very hot, very popular for schools. There is a home that's on the market for 524,000 right now. It is at 1936 Hickory Ridge Road.
Wow.
And it is quintessential Richmond. It's a quintessential Richmond home. It's probably a little bit older than I would typically go for. I think it was built in the, you know, 70s, 80s, 90s, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
Beautiful landscaping. You know, at least you're going to have at least a quarter acre lot. I love it that none of the houses are the same in the neighborhood. Like, you don't go through and just go like, oh, that's that house with that elevation, right? This particular house, they have decked it out to the nines, but they've still like maintained that pretty homey kind of Stratford floor plan. Just beautiful shiplap, you know, board and batten. Updated the kitchen just enough, but not to like bastardize it. Really, you know, the beautiful, like really simple hearths that they like, the mantelpiece you put on, that's like that natural wood. Beautiful, beautiful, big giant screen porch in the back. And they did a really nice job with the bathrooms so that they're not just, you know, ugly old bath. It's beautiful all the way through. It is, when people tell me they're looking in a certain area and they're looking for a sort of kind of home, and I can kind of tell they're looking for the cream puff, this is the sort of house that I'd be like, I'm going to take you there. And then you go, okay, how much do you love this house? You know, what do we have to do to get this house? What do I make it? I'm like, well, that's, you know, let's talk about that sort of thing.
Right.
That's going to be my favorite, is for sure. All right. Now the fun stuff, even though those are our favorite houses for sure. Let's talk about your favorite, most expensive home that is on the market right now. I know you've probably got a charmer.
That is actually easy, because I just shot a video, a walkthrough, or you know, a tour of this house. It is the most expensive house in Asheville that's listed right now, and and the address is, oh my gosh, I should know this. I have this video on my channel. It's 39 Sunset Summit. 39 Sunset Summit. It's actually located in that town mountain community that I was talking about earlier.
Oh.
Has, I mean, $1 million views of downtown, and extends with just long range mountain views. Over 3 acre lot that's pretty flat, which is pretty rare in
Okay.
Asheville, and in particular in that community. They turned it from over 3,000 square foot house when they bought it into over $8,000 square foot house. It's it's amazing. It's amazing. It is listed for $11 million right now.
Oh my.
So that's my favorite. What about you, Erin?
Well, if you want to buy a couple houses for the same price as Asheville, North Carolina, come on to old Richmond, right? This is a toss-up. This is a toss-up. There are two houses that are they're actually priced exactly the same at 3.95, both in the general same area. One is definitely newer. One was built in the 2020s, and the other one was built, of course, older house, was built quite at 1910. So it has that beautiful look to it and all. But both of those are 3.95. They're big, they're like 8,000 square feet. Lots of bathrooms, lots of beautiful places. Again, when I say older house, this has been beautifully updated, but has all the gorgeous architecture and like the big driveway you come in that has the big circle, the manor house. And just gorgeous all the way through, both of them. And then the more modern one is absolutely stunning. It's like an older house, with the high ceilings and all the like neat features to it, but it's definitely a newer house. So I would say that they're both my favorite. And they actually are both in downtown Richmond, but probably more the near West End. Very, very the place to be, where you can walk to a lot of different things, and is very swanky and beautiful landscaping, what have you. So that's pretty exciting. Very, very cool. So let's kind of wrap up a little bit and maybe talk a little bit about what do you think draws people to Asheville the most? And, why do they fall in love with Asheville? Why do they want to come there? And things that maybe motivate them to stay.
I think one of the biggest one is climate and nature. It's hard to beat our climate. I think, of course, it depends on what you're looking for, but it's not going to be as humid as Florida, for example, and hot, and not going to be as dry as Arizona. Sure. Summers are warm and humid, not dry, and everything just stays green and lush. Everything is just looks like one giant park. If somebody who loves outdoors, this is perfect. I mean, you don't have to go anywhere to go mountain biking or hiking. It's all around Asheville, or within Asheville, and all around Asheville. So climate, and we have 4 distinct seasons, but they're not harsh. They're not extreme. Nothing extreme.
That's nice.
So climate and outdoors would be one. And I would guess it's probably one of the strongest reasons why people are coming here, as well as its geographic position. It's close to everything else. It's not, Charlotte is only a couple hours away, but it's a big city. If you want to deal with real traffic and big city and just everything that big city has, than Charlotte. But if you don't want to be in a big city but have that city feel, Asheville is where you can be. And it's close enough to all the different things. Charlotte, Atlanta, 2-3 hours away. The beach is 4.5-5 hours. Washington D.C. is 7 hours. Florida, we have direct flights to a lot of destinations now out of Asheville, so including Florida. So geographic position. And why we love Asheville as well, is food scene, because we are big food people. We turned into big food people because back when we moved here, it wasn't as big on food scene. But now more and more local restaurants are coming in and opening up, and it's awesome for its size. I think we have pretty great options, you know. And another thing for other people who might be interested is music scene,
Okay.
food scene. Well, I forgot about that. Beer scene. I mean, it's a
Oh,
beer city, USA. You know, but it's, we have breweries on every corner. So I
okay.
would say those would be the main reasons. It's definitely not employment or jobs because we don't have a
Okay.
lot, but those other things compensate for jobs, I
Yeah.
guess. What
Gotcha.
about you
Gotcha.
guys? What do you hear from people when they come and
I would
relocate?
say some similar things to Asheville for sure. Definitely that we're not too hot, we're not too cold. We're just
Mm-hmm.
right. Very, four very distinctive seasons, none of them
Mm-hmm.
being too harsh. I have a feeling that our summers, just because we're not in the mountains, I know our summers have got to probably be a lot more humid and hot
Mm-hmm.
than yours. I'm sure that you, with your mountain breeze, has got to be really, really nice there. But I'd
Yeah.
say that it's the, I think it is the people are drawn here because of getting the best of all worlds, that you can have
Mm-hmm.
your city and your suburbs without sacrificing all the things that you have to in a lot of the big cities. The constantly being in your car for long commute times,
Mm-hmm.
the astronomical real estate prices, all of that stuff. I think it's for people that want all the things but don't necessarily want the rat race, if that makes
Right.
sense. um, I think that it's the moderate, that, and actually employment. There are a lot of employment opportunities. I'd say a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people that are coming from larger cities, particularly if they can work remotely, they're
Mm-hmm.
going to love the cost of living in Richmond in comparison to what it would be in a lot of the big cities that they're moving for. I think that's been a big draw to people.
Right.
It might be a little harder for some people coming from larger cities that have, that are coming from larger incomes. They might have to take a little bit of it would be a lifestyle choice more than anything. And I think very central. You could be to DC in an hour and 45 minutes. You can be to
Mm-hmm.
the mountains in about an hour 15 minutes, and you can be to the beach in about an hour 30 minutes. So it
Right.
makes it nice, you know, pretty central.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds
Um,
like a great place to live.
Absolutely. I'm ready. I still have never been to Asheville, and I know that that's like a cardinal sin. Everyone's like, "You have not been to the Biltmore." I'm like, "I have
Oh my
not."
God.
You're like, "Not sure if you can talk to me anymore." You're like, "That's it. We're out of here." So I will have to come check it out once and for all, because I hear nothing but things about it all the time. And then I'll have to get you to my river city so you can live the big baby city life, right?
Yes, I'm intrigued now, especially with all the similarities because,
Mm-hmm.
it's, I'm sure it's gonna feel probably similar to home
Yeah,
if we
for sure.
visit.
Elena, thank you so much for agreeing to do this. I've learned so much. I know anyone watching this is going to learn a lot as well. And thank you guys for joining in for another City versus City. And remember, leave everything better.
Once again, if this is your first time to our channel and you want to learn everything there is to know about living in Richmond, Virginia, tap that like button, hit subscribe, and click that little bell so you're notified every time we release a new video.